Hello everyone, this is Skadoosh, and welcome to a frequently asked questions video for the Decompose Pathfinder, or as coined by Crip, the R Righteous Flatulence Pathfinder. If this is your first time seeing the build, please check out my previous full build overview video linked in the description. As we know, this build works based on the Decompose skill from the Corpse Weight Boots. This skill can gain levels based on the item level of the Iron Greaves that's on the Corpse-Weight Boots. The level 16 version is the max version needed to get 4 Decompose linked sockets. It is currently impossible to get 5, so 4 is the max at level 16 here. The Decompose skill scales with several properties. Increases the chaos damage, increased magnitude of poisons you inflict, damaging ailments deal damage faster. This is a multiplier, highly recommend getting this on jewels. And if you decompose your skeleton brutes, as we need to do for skeleton for single target, minion life and minion levels. One question that I get a lot is that when you swap to your minion set and spawn your minions, you can bypass the minion death timer. This only applies in combat. While outside of combat, no matter how many times you kill them, you can keep respawning them every time. But this, again, is only outside of combat. So in combat, when you have the reforming minions, when you kill your own minion, you can actually not care about this at all. You still have to wait 4 seconds. So kill my minions, swap back, wait 4 seconds, then I can spawn them again in combat. Weapon sets and setting skills to a specific set is an easy place to go wrong when you're starting out the build. Each skill needs to be set to a specific weapon set. And in particular, skeleton brutes need to have your maximum skeleton brutes on your set 2 side, so put this all the way to the right, while this on your weapon set 1 side needs to be 0. We do not want any minions spawned when we're in set 1. You also want your skeleton brute at the top because it prevents a bug. For sacrifice, you want weapon set 2. For shield charge, you want set 1. And so forth. This is all explained in the Mobalytics guide. Here I bugged it out and I want to have it only on set 1. Blasphemy should only be available on set 1. And so forth. While cast on minion death should be on the bottom to also prevent a crash. And should be on set 2. For Plague Nova, to get stacks of poison, you need to make sure that you're always in set 1. So if your minions are out, that means you're in set 2. So you have to swap to set 1 for your Plague Nova to get up to 100% poison stored so that you can use it. So first, when you swap to get some poison clouds to store that poison, you need to swap back right away after your minions have died. Otherwise, if I'm in this set, my poison Plague Nova will not get any stacks. So make sure to swap. This is important also to apply debuffs, such as Blasphemy, as well as getting defenses such as Grim Feast as well. Levels for Plague Nova are very important to make sure that it does a lot of damage and it clears packs properly. Mine is currently level 19 and it's get +2 from the Chaos Mastery support and the Physical Mastery support. This support is normally socketed inside our Skeleton Brutes for extra damage since they get more life per level. But we don't need that as much for mapping, so we can put it in our Plague Bear to get +2. Plague Bear gets a massive boost in damage per level. You see here, does 15,000 damage, just about. And if I put this in, it does 20,000 damage. So that's 33% more damage per level. It is massive and very important. How do I deal with burning ground and burning explosions detonating my poison clouds? One good workaround is having contagion in your cast on minion death setup. So when you kill all your minions, weapon set 2, it should cast all these 3 spells, and one of them being Contagion. Contagion spreads out our poisons much more than Herald of Plague or our Ascendancy Contagious Contamination, because it spreads all poisons rather than just one poison. So it's very helpful on Burning Ground maps and stuff. Speaking of Burning Ground maps, there's a mod on Waystones, which is called, which has a suffix, so it's a negative. Area has patches of burning ground. Avoid this whenever possible. If you see this on your maps, put it to the side and start rolling a new one. You can, of course, if you have a really juiced one, you can use and play a map like with this, or a Waystone with this, but it's not recommended as it will make your life miserable. Another thing that also applies Burning Ground, this keystone here, Deadly Evolution. This will give rare and specifically unique monsters in your maps to have 1 to 2 additional modifiers. One of those modifiers for unique monsters is Burning Explosions. It's extremely irritating when a unique mob does get this mod. It's very rare because there's a lot of mods in the game, but one of them can be this Burning Explosions things, which will detonate your poison clouds, and bosses will be annoying to kill. So keep that in mind. Another thing that can explode your poison clouds is your friends. If your friends ignite an enemy where it has like a flame on it, or if they use a detonator skill or an explosion skill, it will detonate your clouds. So either don't play with those friends, force them to play another build, or make them use the elemental focus skill support on the skill that's causing ignite, so they won't cause ignite anymore. Or maybe something like the 3 dragons, which converts ignite chance to shock chance instead, which actually increases both of your damage. But again, your friends will blow up your clouds if they are using fire damage for the most part. Back to Contagion. Contagion has this weird line that says, reanimated or detonating a corpse affected by contagion will cause the minion or explosion to spread contagion on hit. Interestingly enough, this works with Decompose, which means that any poison cloud that's created from a minion or a detonated corpse that was affected by contagion also spreads contagion. So our poison clouds spread contagion as long as it poisons something. It is insane. You'll see it in practice. Maybe we'll have a clip here. It's crazy. Elevation is a thing that affects our builds. See over here, we have these little stairs. Maybe not these here, but you'll at least in the tower maps, the previous tower maps before the patch, for some reason poison clouds can't go up them. So just make sure to be on the higher part if you can't seem to kill stuff. Something I was going to mention, but it was fixed in the patch notes, is that you can now use the King of Faradern body armor. See here, I'm now floating. This didn't work before, but it now does. So if you want to float while exploding corpses and causing poison clouds, you can now do that. If your minions don't spawn when you weapon swap, there's a couple of reasons to this, but one of them is the Rattling Scepter. If you have the Rattling Scepter in your main set, and those skeletons die, it will activate the minion death timer. And then when you swap, you'll be on the minion death timer, even though you only need the 4 seconds, but those 4 seconds count, and you won't be able to spawn your skeleton brutes. So don't try to avoid using the Rattling Scepter with the Skeleton Warrior Minion Grant skill. If you're crashing when weapon swapping, it's probably due to cast on minion death. Just make sure to have cast on minion death at the very bottom of your skill menu, like it is here. Why aren't my minions being detonated when I'm in set 2? This is most likely due to the Trench Timber Spite Club unique mace. If I put this instead of my shield, my mace here, weapon swap, then walk around, nothing's happening. My minions aren't being detonated. This is because of a bug. There's not much you can do about that when it comes to bugs, but there is a workaround if you really want to use this mace, which I do not recommend because it makes very things clunky, is use the Minion Direct command. So the Minion Direct command is the one that moves minions, so as long as you walk while directing minions, it will kill them. Again, don't recommend using this mace, but it's a very nice DPS upgrade for like single target bosses. But I don't know if it's. I don't think it's necessary. Speaking of things that maybe aren't necessary, people keep asking me about Herald of Plague. Herald of Plague is this skill here. It's a persistent buff, and it makes our poisons, one poison, spread to a nearby enemy when that enemy dies. This is actually the exact same wording as our contagious contamination, so I didn't recommend it because it gave about 0.3 meters, so 0.8 on the Herald of Plague instead of the 0.5 here. So I didn't think it was very necessary. But apparently, these two stack. So as we can see here, I have 3.6 meter radius spread. So I've replaced Withering Presence with Herald of Plague for an even more clear. I do not think this is necessary, but people like this. People like having more clear, killing shit faster, or in a larger area. So here's an option. Another issue people are having is that why is my ES going down every time I weapon swap? So there's a problem right now after the patch where if your ES values, mainly due to the shield or passive points, are too different, it will reduce Grim Feast stacks. You can see here that only my max is going and my actual shield isn't changing. But if Grim Feast is active and you have overflow on your ES and your weapon swap shield has less shield or energy shield than your main set, it will actually keep decreasing it every time you weapon swap. So eventually you weapon swap enough times to the point where you have no Grim Feast anymore. To prevent this, you need to make sure that your energy shield on your set 1 shield and your set 2 shield is as similar as possible. Speaking of shields, I have 2 Mahuxotl Machinations for my rarity set. The reason is this is because that rarity actually snapshots with whatever skill. So if I make a poison cloud from this side and swap to my other side, it will use my set 2 shield for rarity, not my set 1 shield. So if you really want to min-max rarity, you ideally want one on each set to make sure that all the poison clouds you create also give the rarity bonus. Last thing, path of building. I've been getting a lot of questions about if I'm going to post a path of building. There's a couple problems with path of building right now. First off is that we cannot calculate our DPS properly. It just doesn't work. It's not coded right now to actually work with Decompose, and there's also lots of other issues with passive nodes not working, things not going up, like numbers not being correct. So I really don't recommend using PAB for numbers right now. It might be a good place to plan out your passive tree and your gear, but actual numbers are very bad. Another thing is that apparently, this is rumor, it's considered a cheat software for games like Marvel Rivals. Apparently that's a new popular game right now. So, do what you will. I might make a full version of my character in POB, but that's it. I won't make anything else. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope I answered some of your questions in this video. If you have further questions, of course, leave them in the comments, and as always, I'll respond in due time. Please make sure to fully read the FAQ and the how it works and pretty much the entire guide in Mobalytics, just to make sure that the question isn't already answered there, as I'd rather not answer questions that have been answered. I'd appreciate that. If you're more interested in upgrades for the Uber endgame version, I'll have another video for that soon, if not already, linked in the description. Bye bye.